Good morning. Thank you very much. Two good sessions ready this morning. And this is the third and final of the morning sessions before we move to the technology theatre this afternoon on the latest road trip from Social Travel Market. I'm very delighted to have with me today Enrique, who is the head of the UK Spanish Tourist Office. He's been here for about a year. In fact, his appointment was announced a year ago at World Travel Market. Before that, he was in Madrid, devising the digital and social media strategy for Spain worldwide. And a very interesting time, or not a good time, to join UK when the recession has hit firmly across Southern Europe, but it's made him think about different ways of working. And that's what I'm going to ask him to share with you today, is how you do your marketing in a time of austerity and how you're using the new media to move on. I hand you over to Enrique. Please give him a big round of applause and a welcome.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody. How many of you work for tourism boards, do destination branding? Please raise your hands. Okay, so we've got an audience. Probably what I'm going to tell you today is not entirely new for you. It's a story of how we were rich and now we're poor. It's the transit from managing prosperity to managing austerity. And it's a story about how to re-engineer a whole big organization from a very big budget to a very small budget, keeping your staff and keeping them busy. So I'm going to run a presentation for 20 minutes. I hope you get some takeaways. And this is basically the index. So first of all, I wrote some 10 commandments of country or destination branding. Obviously, a destination, a country is a brand. But this brand is not owned by governments, it's owned by consumers. And the governments have big difficulties understanding this. They think devising logos and campaigns, you can change the perception of your country, but it's really the consumer who owns your brand. Now, you have to have a strategy, and I don't see many strategies around, and we are still devising our own strategy. And a strategy is long-term. So you have to look at 5, 10 years, where you want to be, what's your vision. No strategy, no results. And of course, you have to be different. Actually, you have to focus on one or two features. So avoid saying that you're diverse. Diversity is out. Everybody's diverse. Avoid saying you are different. The consumer must say you're different. And focus on something that you have other people don't have. And avoid trying to sell everything to everybody, which is a common mistake by, I think, all tourism boards. Now, we have to move from unique selling proposition to emotional selling proposition. You really want to be loved by your consumers, and for that you need to be emotional and transmit emotional messages. And for that, like countries Brazil, Italy, Spain do, you have to have a story. Storytelling is not new, it's the most powerful way of communication. And funnily, logos are out. Nobody sees your logo, actually. People will stand for the message you have. And if you can turn your slogan into an anthem, like Nike did and some other companies did, then you're a winner. And this is the key, I think. Content is king, meaning that we have to turn from tourism boards to production companies. We have to think of producing relevant content and using consumers to produce relevant content, because relevant content sells for itself, sells for free. You don't have to push it through advertising. People will go to you to have that content, but has to be relevant and only what interests your audience. It's amazing how many messages are around in this fair, even in our own stand, that doesn't interest anybody. So getting your message across is very difficult. And of course, you have to go from push advertising to pull social media, digital, street marketing strategies. we went digital when we had money. So we are not saying here, if you have no budget, go digital. You have to go digital anyway. Actually, the difference between online and offline have faded away. And some things start offline and go online. Some things start online, go offline and come back online. So there's no division between offline and online, and you have to do it independent of your budget. It has to be 360. And in times of scarcity, big ideas replace big budgets. If you have creativity, you have a good idea, you need no marketing budget, really. And there are millions of examples of that. Think out of the box. So our challenge as a country and as a destination is to communicate a relevant message to a fragmented audience in a saturated environment with very limited resources. When I was global head of marketing in Spain, I took up, in 2009, our budget was 96 million euros. Now our budget is 10 million euros worldwide. So we have experienced a 90% decrease in our budget. We have to keep moving on. At that time, we devised this campaign in 2009, I Need Spain. We did like 90 different offline visuals, each of those 80,000 bucks. Those were the times. Saying each picture, 80,000, 90,000, pre-production, post-production, paid models, paid rights. We did a TV campaign, 400 million people saw that. We hired a very famous cinema director. We had the money. We were doing co-marketing campaigns with tour operators, hiring cabbies, outdoor advertising in London. We were doing movies. We sponsored this Bollywood movie that won all awards last year in India, has been seen by 60 million people. It was a very good return on investment, 250,000 euros, 70 million audience. And this movie has fourfolded the number of Indians to Spain in 6 months. So branded content, well done is the key. We even did a program with MTV. And the interesting thing about this Fix You, which is a 4 programs for teenagers that we launched in Korea, India, UK and Germany, is that we didn't even show our brand. That was stealth marketing. This was shot in Spain entirely, but there was no mention about Spain Tourism Board being the sponsor or part of it. Why? Because millennials, these very young people, they hate publicity. They don't trust advertisers. They won't believe your hype. So you have to communicate without them noticing that you are communicating with them. So that was completely a stealth campaign, and I think it repositioned our brand in the 15 to 18-year-old teenagers of all these countries. We had Real Madrid as a brand ambassador, all the players. I went to them, I said, our slogan is I need Spain, but the new slogan is Spain needs you. So they basically contributed for free. None of them got any money from us. So we had Ronaldo, Kaká, all the players in Real Madrid. We had all the national team players like Pau Gasol. We did even have an agreement with the twice European champions and world champions before the World Cup in South Africa. That was a big hit. Motorbikes, visit Spain, that was our message. And of course online. Some 4 years ago we realized that Spain has 57 million tourists every year, but nearly 43% have been to Spain 10 or more times. We have a huge loyalty, which is the most valuable asset that a brand can have. So we thought, why don't we turn these guys that are coming back to Spain 10 times or more in our brand ambassadors? They have much more credibility than Kaká, Ronaldo or Pau Gasol, with all due respect, and they will do it for free. So we started thinking in creating a new concept, and we call this the Spain Addicts. People that are addicted to Spain and will come back every year. And we created a website for the Spain Addicts. And we sent a message out and said, if you're a Spain addict, you're not alone. You have millions of Spain addicts and you can share your content here. So we created this website that I encourage you to visit and contribute to. It's called ineedspain.com, and we had in 3 months over 900,000 unique visitors, and content is being shared and posted in this website as we speak. So this was, I think, a turning point. You have videos, you have posts in all languages, so it's an international. You will see posts in Chinese, in Korean, in Russian. It's the whole world talking about Spain in a specific place and related to our Facebook site. When I took up Facebook, we had like 150,000 fans. When I left, we had nearly 800,000 fans. Now we have over 820,000 fans in Facebook, which is a huge number of fans. But we also learned along the way that the volume in Facebook is not important. We had a lot of fans, but low engagement. So now we are doing a different strategy in the UK. We want to have less fans, but more engaged. And this is something that brands have not yet quite, I think, fully realized. Of course, it's a multi-platform, multi-channel. We had our social networks. I should talk about that. And now we have our Facebook page in the UK, which is only 1,400 people. We started a few weeks ago. We don't want to reach the 800,000, of course not. But these people are highly engaged. So to get people engaged, again, you need very good content and a strategy. Apps for iPad, iPhone, quite successful actually. I think also that the app world is quite difficult to navigate and it's difficult to stand out. Twitter. I have not yet grasped fully the Twitter concept. I have to confess I'm not as techy as Steve thinks I am. But we realize it's a useful tool to communicate things on real time. Our own dedicated YouTube channel with hundreds of videos. And what comes next? Now we have 10% of the budget we had when we did all this. So what we're doing now is obviously keeping our social media very much alive, focusing on engagement and not on volume. We have turned from chief marketing officers to chief content officers. So we are shooting a lot of stuff. We are like a production company now. Every time there's something relevant and interesting that we're doing, we try to present it in a cinematic way, because people consume images and they no longer want to read. They want to see things. We started doing flash mobs, which was unthinkable 3 years ago, precisely to generate relevant content for our social media channels. Guerrilla marketing. I'll show you something in a while. And of course, bloggers. Yesterday we host a huge gathering of over 100 bloggers, and we had a table football tournament hosted by Steve as well. And we had the chance to talk with these guys who have huge audiences, and we don't know yet how to interact with them, because it's something new for us. I mean, we do blog trips, yes, but to understand the blogosphere and to get them engaged with us, we created a new concept, which is the Social News Hub. I'm gonna jump to the Social News Hub, and I'm gonna show you a little bit how it works. This is hosted in our spaininfo.uk website, so I encourage you to visit it and send us your feedback. And basically this is a digital space in which we have our own content, press releases, high-res photographs, we have videos, we have all kind of news that we produce. But if you go down here, you also have news and contents that other people produce. So for instance, we can go to this article in the Guardian or in Telegraph, or we can have BBC programs about Spain. So basically the concept is BBC is talking to their audience, we take their content and push it to our audience. And this is for free, because what we're doing is channeling content from other people to different audiences. If you look at the right-hand side, you also have our Facebook integrated here. And you also have our Twitter account integrated here. So it's an integration of our social media, our own content, third-party contents, and also we encourage bloggers and new media, new journalists to send us their content so that we can post it here as well. So it's a bi-directional communication. Does it make any sense? Do you understand the concept? Yes, no? Yeah, okay. So I think the best thing you can do is go online, check it out, and send us your remarks at the website that I will show you now. At Spain.info. I'm not finished yet, Steve. I'm going to go back and show you two examples of clever, low-cost, cheap marketing that has worked very well. I don't know if you know this. A guy called Thomas Cook wrote to Thomas Cook Facebook and said, since my name is Thomas Cook and I've been suffering this for all of my life, I think you should award me with a free trip by Thomas Cook, because people have been taking the piss of me for a long time, and I think you should somehow reward me. And Thomas Cook said, no, we won't do that. We don't give away free trips. So some clever guy in low-cost holidays said, hey, Mr. Thomas Cook, we'll give you the free trip. Of course, it's such a shame. You have that awful name and that awful brand, and these guys don't even give you a free trip, so we'll do it. And they give him a free trip to Paris, and the guy, of course, posted in his Facebook, and this went viral, and the Thomas Cook guys are still trying to make it up to them. They offer him charity trips, and they completely blew it, which is I think a nice example of how you can use opportunities that happens, windows of opportunities that maybe are days or weeks, things that are going out, use topicality and bring it to your own field. And I'll show you this example that I think that most of you won't know. I'm gonna show you a video that I was posted in Singapore for years. I lived there 4 years, and when I was living there, this video went viral, and you will understand why. It was all the rage in Singapore. Everybody was talking about it. Okay, so this is a real video. Somebody from a building took it. Well, this is not funny at all, actually. This was a blatant case of abuse and was in the media in Singapore. Lots of comments about it. It was in the news for months. Can we play this one? This one? Yeah. And then somebody at Burger King Singapore saw an opportunity, and then this video, a few weeks later, came online. So this is an example of clever marketing, low cost. Think out of the box. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Enrique. I always love it when people talk honestly and openly, but even I didn't expect somebody to say he'd lost 90% of his budget over 2 or 3 years. That was quite frightening. The other thing I don't expect a tourist board chief to say is we want less fans on Facebook. That's not a statement I've heard before, but you're serious about this. You don't want the big numbers, you want the people who are passionate, engaged, and who've been there several times already.
Yes, it's not that we want less fans, it's that we are not going to spend huge amounts of money, as I did, trying to get 100,000 fans a month, because obviously you gain these fans mostly through advertising, and it's even more so now that Facebook has changed the rules in which you communicate with your fans. You know, before we would send out a post and the 800,000 fans will read it, and now only 14% will read it, or 16%. So Facebook needs to monetize, and they're making you pay twice for your investment. So I'm not anti-Facebook, but you have to know the rules, and you have to know what's the acquisition cost of a Facebook fan.
Well, interesting point, because Facebook is coming for a lot of criticism. We've got a session with them this afternoon, so I won't be too critical right now, but maybe a bit later. So tourist boards generally, should they be following, if they're in similar circumstances, a similar approach to you, is getting to know the people who love your country better? Is that the theme of it?
Absolutely. Those people are the ones who are going to make your brand emotional, are going to communicate to your audience in a much more authentic and credible way. Nobody trusts advertisers anymore. And we're spending a lot of money advertising. We used to be spending a lot. And your ads can be good, can be funny, can be witty. They can make a mark, but they won't be credible. But if you go to a page called Spain Addicts and you have 100,000 people sharing content and sharing real experiences, then you say, oops, there's a community here, and this community is passionate and engaged about this brand. There must be something for me there.
Definitely. And is there anybody in here from a DMO or tourist board who's had their budgets a bit affected, who'd like to pass a comment? Do we have a spare microphone here? I'll start wandering around.
2 questions. One is, how do you now evaluate your success and measure your success in terms of ROI? Do you still have database acquisition targets? And how do you manage the internal challenge? Because, of course, traditionally when you have budget, you have a lot of push marketing. So did you just get rid of the push people? Or did you re-educate them? Because I think the internal struggle for that to get people around to that idea is still something probably a lot of DMOs still share. So I just wondered how you dealt with those challenges.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good point. We are re-engineering the whole structure, and we're getting more people digital. And since we go digital, our staff is going digital as well. The great thing about social media is that everybody can contribute and everybody can propose content, and that's what we do in the office. Everybody, literally, when they see interesting things about Spain being published or written or in Facebook or whatever, they can contribute and say, hey, this is interesting, let's get it to our Facebook channels. So there is a challenge in there. There is a challenge in the fact that we used to print 6 million brochures, and we don't do anymore. And there are whole, structures of fairs. I abolished like 73 fairs in 1 year. They call me the ferial killer in Madrid. I think that there is a space for fairs and there is a space for push marketing, but you have to re-engineer your whole structure and re-educate people to embrace digital. And if you have the money to do outdoor advertising, that's great, because it's even more powerful. TV still is the best way to reach your audience and make a mark, but it's too expensive. So
that's very good points. But also the second point I thought was very interesting is must be a lot of tourist boards who have to do as much internal marketing to their staff and their bosses as they're doing external marketing, because you have to persuade a lot of people who are historically based on TV or print advertising. I've heard this from at least one regional tourist office in Spain. not something you necessarily suffer from because you're in charge, but is it something you're aware of, that people are having to change the internal culture as well as the external?
Absolutely, and we are not doing that as well as we should. Internal marketing is always forgotten. People focus only in external marketing, and you need to have internal marketing. You need to communicate what you want to do so that everybody is basically aligned in the message, because when you have a brand which is as big as Spain, you can communicate many things about Spain, but basically you should be always focusing in your emotional selling proposition, which in our case is lifestyle. We don't pretend to have the best culture, the best food, the best monuments and the best cities, although we do. We pretend to have or we claim to have the best lifestyles, or at least one of the best lifestyles in the world. And this is something you cannot copy, you cannot replicate. This is a sustainable competitive advantage over time over other countries. But really good point. Internal marketing, we need to do more.
Okay, any other questions from the floor? Alistair from Travel 5.
Enrique, you talked earlier about the need to focus on one or two stories and not keep sending out press releases on every single thing. But we know that in real life it's not quite like that, because so many tourist boards, particularly at local and regional level, have, in a sense, investors, have partners, have hoteliers, have people who want to get their message out and try to do that. So how do they deal with the requests from their partners and from the local tourism industry to tell a story when they're at the same time trying to be efficient about telling stories?
Again, a very good point. We have an enormous pressure of other destinations. Spain is a multi-destination country, and there are lots of companies, hoteliers that want to send their message out. And social media and our channels can only hold that many messages. You cannot clutter your communication with all types of messages. So I think it comes down to choosing the best told stories. So if you have a very small hotel in the mountains and you send me a Word document with 2 pictures on it saying that your hotel is great, obviously I won't do anything with that. But if you send me a very nice story told by somebody who has been in that hotel in a relevant way, I will push that through my media. So if the content is relevant and is well told, the story is well told, there is an audience. If not, we cannot push 800,000 press releases every year. So I think relevancy and storytelling, and for us the levels of qualification that you need for us to push your message. Absolutely. They don't understand that now if they send us a press release, we won't send it out, because that was the way we used to work. We will send it out to hyperspace and nobody will read it. And now we say, look, if you have content and your content is good, we'll post it and we'll move it around. If it's not good, remake it.
And that is something else I've heard a lot this year, is tourist boards becoming the curator, the administrator. So they're the persons who sit back and put the best stuff up there from the people who should be doing all the work, which is people on the ground. Now that is another way of thinking now, which is important. I'm sure we could carry on and be people who want to talk to Enrique afterwards, but we're going to have to wrap. So I'd just like to thank Enrique for being very straightforward and honest with us. I do think Spain is really getting it, and getting it so well, and should be applauded for that. So I encourage you to put your hands together to thank Enrique from the Spanish Tourist Office.